Good morning, everyone. This is B. Ramarao from SRRS Government Polytechnic, Sirsilla. Today, we discuss about what is metallurgy, what are the terms used in metallurgy, subject engineering chemistry and environmental studies, common for diploma students, subject code C204. C204. Last class we discussed about what is metal, what is non-metal, what are the characters between metals and non-metals. The metal are high reactivity and available in the form of mines or minerals in the earth crust. Metals are important in domestic and industrial field. They must be extracted and purified by the process. So, the element which is loss of electrons in its valency easily they called metals. Metals are available in solid state at room temperature except mercury. Metals are strong and touch. Metals have high melting point, high boiling point, and also high density. High density. Metals have show malleability and ductility. Metals have high tensile strength. They are conduct electricity. Metals react with oxygen to form basic oxides. Metals react with dilute acids or water, it liberated hydrogen gas. Metals react with hydrogen to form metal hydrides. These are some characters of metals. Non-metals, the element which gain of electrons from other substance is called non-metal. Non-metals are available in solid state or liquid state or gaseous state at room temperature. In solid state, non-metals are carbon, sulfur, iodine, etc. In liquid state, non-metal is bromine. Gaseous state non-metal, hydrogen, helium, oxygen, nitrogen, neon, argon, krypton, etc. Non-metals are not strong to touch. Non-metals have low melting point, low boiling point. Non-metals are not show malleable and ductility. Non-metals are generally have more number of valency, that is more than 4. Non-metals are bad conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are non-lustrous and cannot be polished. Non-metals oxides are acidic oxides. For example, CO2, SO2, etc. Nonmetals do not liberate hydrogen gas with water and dilute acids. Nonmetals combines with hydrogen to form stable covalent hydrides. Nonmetals react with halogens to form covalent halides. Nonmetals do not form alloys. Metals are formed alloys. These are some characters of metals and nonmetals. Now, in metallurgy process, we using some important terms and also methods of and also using extraction process of crude metals. On the completion of this period, you would be able to know about terms of metallurgy, roasting, calcination, smelting process. In this hour, we discuss about on completion of this period, you will be able to know about the terms of minerals, ore, gangue, mineral, ore, gangue, flux, types of fluxes and types of fluxes, slag. These terms we discuss in this hour and also extraction process of roasting, calcination and smelting process. Mineral, ore, gangue, flux, slag. Metallurgy. What is the metallurgy? The process of extraction and isolation of metal from its naturally occurring material is called metallurgy. The process of extraction and isolation of metal from its naturally occurring material is called metallurgy. In this process, purification and separation of metal from its naturally associated metal compounds is called metallurgy. In these terms, we are using mineral, ore, gangue, flux, and slag. These terms are used in metallurgy process. What is metallurgy? The process of extraction and isolation of metal from its naturally occurring material is called metallurgy. Metallurgy is a domain of material science and engineering that studies the physical and chemical behavior of metallic element, their intermetallic compounds and their mixture which are called alloys. Metallurgy comprises of three sets: concentration of ore, isolation of metal from the concentrated ore, purification of the metal. This process of metallurgy, extraction and isolation of metal from its naturally occurring material is called metallurgy. In this domain of metal science and engineering, students the physical and chemical behavior of metallic elements, their intermetallic compounds, and their mixture which are called alloys. Concentration of ore, isolation of metal from concentrated ore, purification of metal. These methods are used in Purification of metal from its naturally associated material is called metallurgy. In this process, the metallic science and engineering that students the physical and chemical process of metal that beware of metallic element, their intermetallic compounds and their mixture which are called alloys. Which are called alloys. Basic terminologies used in metallurgy. One is slag, waste material separated from metals during the extraction of ore. The waste material separation from metals during the extraction of ore. The fusible mass formed by the reaction of flux with gangue is called slag. Flux react with slag is called flux react with gangue particles. What is gangue? Impurities present in ore particles are called gangue particles. Those gangue particles interact with chemical compound of flux to form a mass of compound is called slag. The waste material or matter separated from metals during the extraction of ore is called slag. Gangue plus flux gives rise slag. Gangue, silicon dioxide react with calcium oxide to form calcium silicate is called slag. CaSiO3. The fusible mass formed by the reaction of flux with gangue is called slag. Gangue plus flux gives rise slag. Gangue particles like silicon dioxide, flux chemical compound of calcium oxide gives rise CaSiO3. Calcium silicate is called slag. Properties of slag. It should be fusible and has low density. It should be fusible and has low density. A fused slag is lighter than molten metal and can be easily removed. It should be poor conductor and protect the metal from overheating. Protect the metal overheating. It should be visible and has low density. A fused slag is lighter than molten metal and can be easily removed. It should be poor conductor and protect the metal from overheating. These are some properties of slag. What is a slag? A fusible mass formed by the reaction of flux with gangue is called slag. Waste matter separated from metals during the extraction of ore is called slag. Gangue. What is a gangue? The earthly materials and undesired chemical compounds. The earthly materials and undesired chemical compounds associated with the ore is called gangue or flux. Associated with ore is called gangue or matrix. Gangue particles. The earthly materials and undesired chemical compounds associated with the ore is called gangue or matrix. The most common gangue materials are quartz, calcite, fluorite, siderite, etc. The method of extraction of metal depends on the nature of impurities and manner in which they are bound to ore is called gangue. The most common gangue materials are quartz, calcite, fluorite, siderite, etc. The methods of extraction of metal depends on the nature of impurities and manner in which they are bound to ore. Gangue particles. In mining, gangue is the commercially worthless material that surrounds or is closely mixed with a wanted mineral in an ore deposit. It is thus distinct from our burden, which is the waste rock or materials overlying an ore or mineral body that are displaced during mining without being processed. The separation of mineral from gangue is known as mineral processing. In mining, gangue is the commonly worthless material that surrounds or is closely mixed with a wanted mineral in an ore deposit. It is thus distinct from overburn, which is the waste rock or minerals overlying an ore or mineral body that are displaced during mining without being processed. The separation of mineral from gangue is known as mineral processing. Now, mineral. What is a mineral? A solid, naturally occurring inorganic substance formed by geological process is called mineral. What is mineral? Compounds of metal. Compounds of metals found in natural associated with earthly impurities. The compound of metals found in natural associated with earthly impurities like mud, sand, stone, etc. are called minerals. The compound of metals found in natural associated with earthly impurities. The metal mixed with mud particles, sand particles, stone particles, etc. are called minerals, which are associated naturally. The earthly impurities like mud particles, sand particles, stone particles, etc. are called minerals. Compounds of metals found in natural associated impurities is called minerals. Like example minerals, hematite, magnetite, iron pyrites are minerals of iron. Hematite, Fe2O3, hematite, iron ore or iron mineral. Magnetite Fe3O4. Iron mineral. Iron pyrites FeS2. Iron pyrites. Bauxite diaspore or mineral of aluminium. And bauxite and diaspore are mineral of aluminium. Mineral of aluminium. Mineral. Hematite, magnetite, iron pyrites are mineral of iron. Bauxite Al2O3 2H2O. Bauxite diaspore Al2O3 H2O are mineral of aluminium. Flux. Mineral, it is a compound of metal found in natural associated with earthly impurities like sand particles, mud particles, stone particles are called minerals. Now, ore. A naturally occurring solid material from which a metal or valuable mineral can be extracted is called ore. A naturally occurring solid material from which a metal or valuable mineral can be extracted is called ore. Ore, the naturally occurring mineral from which a particular metal is extracted conveniently and with minimum cost is called ore. The naturally occurring minerals from which a particular metal is extracted conveniently and with minimum cost is called ore. All ores are minerals but not vice versa. Many metals are available in form of oxides because oxygen is more abundant and highly reactive. Hematite Fe2O3 is ore of iron. Bauxite Al2O3 2H2 is ore of aluminum. Flux, a substance added to ore. A substance added to the ore to remove impurities in the form of fusible mass by lowering the melting point of ore is called flux. A substance added to the ore to remove impurities in the form of fusible mass by lowering the melting point of ore is called flux. It is a chemical cleaning agent used for purification of the mass. Purification of the mass. Purification of the mass. A substance added to the ore to remove impurities in the form of fusible mass by lowering the melting point of the ore is called flux. Silicon dioxide, phosphorus pentoxide, calcium oxide, iron trioxide, these all are used as a flux. Silicon dioxide SiO2, P2O5, CaO, Fe2O3, etc. These are fluxes. These fluxes are two types. One is acidic flux, second one is basic flux. A chemical substance used to remove basic impurities like CaO, MgO are called acidic flux. Basic flux, a chemical substance used to remove acidic impurities like SiO2, E2O5, etc. is called basic flux. Extraction methods. It is the process of removing of impurities or underized material from the ore, leaving behind the required metals. Different process followed are hydraulic washing, magnetic separation, fourth flotation, lamination. That is process. Now we discuss about extraction of methods. Extraction methods. Pyrometallic is classified into followed categories: roasting, calcination, smelting, refining process, electrolytic refining process. Calcination. Calcination. The process of heating of ore. The process of heating of ore. Below its below its below its melting point in absence of air is called calcination. The process of heating of ore below its melting point in absence of air in order to remove any volatile material is called calcination. Calcination is heating to high temperature in the absence of air is called calcination. The process of heating of ore below its melting point in absence of air in order to remove any volatile matter is called calcination. This method is used to convert an ore into suitable form for the reduction of ore into corresponding metal. Calcination is generally used for the metallic carbonates, bicarbonates, and hydrates, metallic oxides. Calcination does not involve any chemical changes and carried out in reverberatory furnace. Reverberatory furnace. CaCO3 gives rise CaO plus CO2. CaCO3 gives rise CaO plus CO2. Zinc carbonate ZnCO3 gives rise ZnO plus CO2. Magnesium carbonate gives rise magnesium oxide plus CO2. Aluminum hydroxide Al2O3 plus 3H2. This calcination is heating to ore at high temperature below its melting point, absence of air is called calcination. The main process of calcination of ore are to convert carbonates and hydrates ore into oxides. ZnCO3 gives rise ZnO plus CO2. CaCO3 gives rise CaO plus CO2. AlOH taken thrice gives rise Al2O3 plus 3H2. Roasting. The process of heating of ore in presence of air below its melting point is called roasting. Roasting. Heating of the ore, heating of the ore either alone or mixed with other substance in presence of air below its melting point is called roasting. Heating of ore in presence of air below its fusion temperature or melting point is called roasting. Roasting is roasting is employed in case of sulfide ore or the ore containing metal sulfides impurities. Sulfide ore are converted into oxides or sulfates. Roasting involves chemical changes like oxidation, chlorination, etc. This process is carried in reverberator furnace. Roasting is divided into three types on the basis of nature of product formed: oxidizing roasting, sulfate roasting, chloridizing roasting. Oxidizing roasting. This is common type of roasting and used to remove sulfides and arsenic in the form of their volatile oxidizing. During this process, sulfates were converted into oxides. It is applied to the ore of iron, lead, zinc, nickel, copper, etc. For example, lead sulfate PbS plus 3O2 gives rise to PbO, lead oxide plus 2SO2. Zinc sulfide plus 3O2 gives rise zinc oxide plus SO2. In this process, to convert the sulfide into oxides or sulfates, to remove impurities like sulfur, arsenic, tin, etc. Lead, to remove moisture, to oxidize easily oxidizable substance. It is mainly used for sulfide ore. It converts sulfide into oxides. ZnS plus 3O2 gives rise to ZnO plus SO2. 2 ZnS plus 3O2 gives rise to ZnO plus SO2. 4 FeS2 plus 11O2 gives rise to Fe2O3 plus 8SO. This is oxidizing roasting. Sulfating roasting. This type of roasting carried out under control conditions. A part of sulfide ore is converted to sulfate and rest is converted to oxide. Like roasting of galena lead to form to lead oxide and lead sulfate. PbS plus 3O2 gives rise to PbO plus 2SO2. PbS plus 3O2 gives rise PbSO4. PbSO4. Roasting. Then after smelting process. Smelting is a form of extractive metallurgy. Its main used to produce a base metal from its ore. Smelting make use of heat, and a chemical reducing agent to decompose the ore, driving off other elements as gases or slag and leaving only the metal's base behind. The reducing agent is commonly a source of carbon such as coke or in earlier times charcoal. Smelting. The process of separation of a metal. The process of separation of a metal or its sulfide mixture from its ore in molten state in presence of flux is called smelting. Smelting, the process of separation of metal or its sulfide mixture from its ore in molten state in presence of flux is called smelting. During smelting process, mixture of sulfide ore called matte is found. In this process, ore is melted with a flux and other with a reducing agent. This process is carried out in a blast furnace. Smelting process, formation of mixture of copper and iron sulfide from copper parities. Like example 2CuFeS2. Copper parities plus O2 gives rise Cu2S plus 2FeS2 plus SO2 plus SO2 plus SO2. CuFeS2 plus O2 gives rise Cu2S plus 2FeS2 plus SO2. Separation of iron from hematite Fe2O3 plus 3C gives rise to Fe plus 3CO. Smelting process. The process of separation of a metal or its sulfide metals or sulfide ore mixture from its ore in molten state in presence of flux is called smelting. In presence of flux is called smelting. In this process, ore is melted with a flux and often with a reducing agent. This process carried out in a blast furnace, that is smelting. Fe2O3 plus 3C gives rise to Fe plus 3CO. Iron oxide, separation of iron by using as a flux is called smelting process. 2C plus O2 gives rise to CO. Burning of fuel to carbon monoxide. Fe2O3 plus 3CO gives rise to Fe plus 3CO2. CO reduce heating of iron or hematite to iron. CaCO3. CaCO3 gives rise CaO plus CO2. Decomposition CaO plus SiO2 CaSiO3 calcium silicate. Impurities are removed. Impurities are removed. 2C plus O2 gives rise to CO. Burning of Pl2 carbon monoxide. Fe2O3 plus 3CO gives rise to Fe plus 3CO2. CaCO3 gives rise CaO plus CO2. CaO plus SiO2 gives rise CaSiO3. Calcium silicate. Blast furnace. Purification of smelting process used in these blast furnaces. Heating of different temperature by using in blast furnaces. Floor, furnace, charge, double cap and cone, waste gases. Heating starting 400, 600 degrees centigrade, 700, 800, 1000, 1200 to 1300 degrees centigrade. Hot air, blast, tires, molten iron. Then after slag. Reverberatory furnace. This reverberatory furnace also separation of metal from its ore. These also different temperatures maintained in these furnaces. Fuel gases, ore, refractory, fireplace, ash, feeding holes, hot flame. Reverberatory furnace. Summary. We have discussed the following reduction methods, smelting process, calcination, roasting, smelting process. Quiz. A flux is used. Flux is used. In smelting process, a flux is used. Reducing agent is used. B. C. Flux and reducing agents are used. D. Both are not used. In smelting process, using chemical compound, flux is used. Reducing agent is used. Flux and reducing agent is used. Both are not used. What is a smelting? The process of separation of a metal or its sulfide mixture from its ore in molten state in presence of flux. In presence of flux is called smelting. So, in smelting process, separation of metal, its ore in molten state in presence of flux. What are using? Flux is used in smelting process. So, answer flux or reducing agent. Reducing agent means carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, also used as a separation of metal from its ore. So, this process, flux and reducing agents both are used in smelting process. About this topic used in frequently asked questions. Frequently asked question. Define and explain smelting process. The process of separation of metal from its ore in molten state or in presence of flux or reducing agent is called smelting. Like Fe2O3 plus 3C gives rise to Fe plus 3CO. These carbon act as flux. CuFeS2 plus O2 gives rise Cu2S plus Fes2 plus SO2. This reducing agent. explain various reduction methods used in the extraction of methods. Reduction methods, roasting process, calcination process, smelting process. What is roasting? Heating of the ore either alone or mixed with other substance in presence of air. In presence of air below its melting point is called roasting. Calcination, the process of heating of ore below its melting point, absence of air to remove any volatile material is called calcination. In the completion of this period, you would be able to know about what is minerals, ore, gangue, flux, types of flux, slag. Minerals, ore, gangue, flux, types of flux, slag. And also extraction methods of roasting, calcination, smelting. These methods also used in this hour. Separation of metal from its metallurgy process of extraction and isolation of metals from its naturally occurring material is called metallurgy. In this metallurgy process, using terms are what is mineral, ore, gangue, flux, slag, and roasting, calcination, smelting. Thank you once again.